When it comes to differentiating in a crowded marketplace, this is something that a lot of people really struggle with. Certainly a lot of the clients and students that I work with, they find this really difficult because they get hung up on unique, USP. What's my unique selling point, my unique selling proposition? And I, for one, think that being unique, it's a bit of a red herring. Being unique doesn't necessarily mean you're adding value. I could be on this video completely covered head to toe in glitter. I'd certainly be unique, but it wouldn't add any value to this video whatsoever. So it's a bit of a red herring, isn't it? So you don't need to worry about being unique. You need to worry about what I call an ESP, an engaging selling proposition. It's just going to be something they care about. That's it. And it could be small, it could be large, it could ironically be something that's unique to you, but it doesn't have to be. There's over 100 different ways that you can differentiate yourself from the competition, and I'll put a link in the description below so you can see what those are. But in this video, I'm going to talk about two main steps that you can take, two main steps to help you differentiate from the competition. And it looks a little something like this. First of all, once we've worked out what our difference is, we're starting to think about what our difference is, we want to be naming the difference. Because syllables are expensive. My background is in sales, communication, and trust me, the longer it takes you to explain something to me, the less attention I've got and the harder it is for you to sell it to me. So syllables are expensive. And for me, naming something is better than explaining it. And maybe you've seen this before when you come across a company in particular, it'd be like Blue Orange Consulting. And if you contrast that with WeFitBoilers.com, or something similar, one of those needs an explanation because you don't know what they do. And this one, you know what they do. And I'd like to think that Clear Sales Message, the business I run, fits into that category because it should be quite obvious from the name of my business what I do. But naming something rather than explaining it is a shortcut. It's a commercial advantage. Now, one of the things that you can name, besides your business, your product, or your service, so people can really get it much simpler and quicker than otherwise, is naming the problem that you solve. I mean, for a lot of people, defining the problem that they solve is something perhaps they've never really sat down to do, or they've never seen the importance in, but defining the problem that you solve and then giving it a name. And it doesn't have to be any more complicated than the thing problem. So for Clear Sales Message, it could be the messaging problem, the confidence problem, the symptom trap, the something loop, whatever. But if you take the basic format of the something problem, the pricing problem, the interest rate challenge, the weight loss cycle, if we think about how do we name the problem that your client is facing, your ability to articulate the problem implies your ability to solve the problem. And this alone can help to differentiate you because people just get it that much quicker. So we're talking about the messaging problem where somebody else is just talking about a more generalized issue that you might be having with sales and selling. So naming the problem first of all. Then naming the people that you deal with. So for me, my ideal client, I would term them as a B2B founder, B2B, business to business, a B2B founder with a hard to explain offering. And that's it. So if you're in B2C, I'm probably no good for you. But if you're in B2B, and if you find it hard to explain your offering, guess what? I can probably help you. And this makes it much simpler. And you can start to put these things together. So I help B2B founders with a hard to explain offering overcome the confidence problem where on a call, they don't really know the answer to all the questions. And then all of a sudden, these things can flick together. So naming the problem, naming the person or the company that you're dealing with. So rather than 15 to 20-year-old males and blah, 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 that stuff's important. But if you gave it a more relatable term and using things like feelings and thoughts, so hard to explain offering is obviously a description of the challenge that they're facing. But what are they thinking about? What are they worrying about? And how can we bring that into the naming convention? Then, just for the record, we'd have to do all of these things at the same time. It would be very crowded. Sometimes they can go together, but we don't want to overkill it. Then we could think about naming behavior. So we see here house-barrassment. House-barrassment. That's taking the word embarrassment, the word house, splicing them together. And even before you read that description, you could probably tell me what you think house-barrassment is. I'm embarrassed about my house. And there's a company here in the UK called Wix that sell kitchens, and they're talking about this very relatable moment when people are coming over to your house, and although your house is clean and tidy, it's a bit scruffy because it needs to be redecorated. You're embarrassed about your house. You've got house embarrassment. And perhaps that could be the problem that you solve. Going back a couple of slides. So we help you to overcome house embarrassment. But what kind of behavior are they experiencing? What are they thinking, feeling? Can we name that? Because that, again, can be a great way to differentiate and also really to help you attract attention and stick in the mind of your buyer. So we looked at the problem that you're solving and naming that and defining that. Well, the same goes for your solution. So what's your process of working? How do you do what you do? Every single person, every single business has a particular process for how they do what they do or how they create the products that they sell. But how well articulated is that, and is that used appropriately? Now here, as with a lot of this stuff really, the fact it has a name is the most compelling component. But for your process in particular, so if you see here the LOC method, so leave-in oil cream, it's not catchy, it's not particularly clever, but the fact that it has a name, it shows there's consideration, there's professionalism. You're thinking, this is interesting. These people must know what they're doing. They know what they're doing so much so that they've taken the time to document it. And again, it can be a powerful tool differentiating against the competition. Why should I choose you? Well, we'll solve your problem. Why should I choose you? Well, we've got a 5-step approach to solving your problem. We'll do this, this, and this. And based on that, we'll do that and that. One of those sounds more compelling than the other. And this is where we can really get into the nuances of differentiation. So naming the difference, first of all, just to go back and recap. So it could be the process of working you've got, the behavior or the worries that your client has, naming that, naming the clients themselves. So people like you, we've got believers, we've got Swifties, etc. Can we name your audience and the kind of people that you're selling to? And can we name and define the problem that you're actually solving? The second consideration here, like I say, there's over 100 different ways to do it, and there's a link in the description below so you can check those out. But the second way that you can do it, second approach, is proving the difference. I'm a big proponent of this. Show me, don't tell me. I can tell you that I'm really good at what I do, but anybody could tell you they're really good. Oh, we're professional, we're reliable, we're affordable. Great. So prove it. I want to see, what does this mean for me? Make this real. And that's where we get into social proof, which is a posh term for reviews, case studies, testimonials. From my perspective, it's better to have one place where you collect these, and that place is the place where your buyers are going to use the most often to find you. So one place and then the highest number possible. That's better than lots of different Google reviews, LinkedIn recommendations. You're spread all across the blue. You're 2 here, 5 here, 10 here. I'd rather you have 100 or 500 on one platform, and that's it. But it's got to be the most relevant one to your audience. And this has been an obsession of mine. And if you know me in real life beyond YouTube, you'll know that I was obsessed for the longest time with obtaining 500 LinkedIn recommendations. And I'm very happy to say that I did achieve that, over 550 recommendations at the point of recording this video. So all of a sudden I can go from, hey, I'm really good at what I do, to, well, here's essentially a jumbo jet full of people that have said nice things about me on the internet. And as a little side note here, the only reason I've got that many, you could probably have that many or more. But the only reason I got to this stage was because I made it a priority and I stumbled across something very clever, but very simple that helped me. When I asked people for, these are LinkedIn recommendations, when I asked for a LinkedIn recommendation in the early days, I would share my target with people. And I would say, hey, look, wonder if you can help me trying to hit 10 or 20 LinkedIn recommendations. I'm currently on 14, whatever it happens to be. Please, can you help me? And I didn't realize that it does a couple of things. First of all, it tells you that I'm watching this. So if you forget, I'm probably going to chase you up, and there's probably going to be a consequence to you not doing it. That's the first one. And then secondly, if I've actually done good work for you and looked after you, which I'm supposed to have done, then this is your chance to reciprocate and to say thank you. And you'll know this is true because you'll have had great service in all sorts of different places. Great things have happened. But for some reason, taking the time to leave a good review is too much effort. It has to be mind-blowingly exceptional for you to initiate the review process, the social proof process, linked to recommendations. But if somebody asks you in the right way and using a goal, like I say, they're using a goal, that's definitely going to help you move forward. So we've got social proof. It's like 500 people that have said, oh, isn't James wonderful? And they're not all my mum, I can promise you. And then we've got specific proof. So then we can silo that off, because all of these people, you might be nothing like Nur or Lisa or any of the other people that have kindly recommended me there on LinkedIn. You might be very, very different. So siloing the proof, and here's a great example. So Torsten, client of mine, for his business, we named it. We created all of the messaging for it, and we provided ongoing sales training and support. The thing that's missing from this is a little PA next to that 3 to 11 million. That's per annum. I took them from £3 million a year to £11 million a year. For transparency, it was not 100% all down to me. Of course, they worked very hard. I merely helped steer them in the right direction. I'm not going to claim all of that as my own work. Absolutely not. But in naming the offering, positioning it, that helped them move dramatically in the right direction, which perhaps they wouldn't have been able to do without me. But here we're getting into the nitty gritty. So this is a video, a feedback video that shows Torsten says lovely things about me. I've got a gun to his head. It's perfect. Just off camera. You can't quite see that. He says lovely things about me on the internet, and it's more compelling because it's more believable and it's just real. And we respond well to watching other people say things. And again, this is show me, don't tell me. I could just tell you these things. I could show you, here's the actual person I've helped, and here's what he says in his own words. Another way to show me, don't tell me, is a success breakdown. So either you can tell me, so kind of done it here a little bit maybe, like here's the client, here's what I did for them, so he's been successful, breaking that down, this is what we did. Or you could just take something that's not to do with you. People do this all the time with big name brands. Oh, the new Pepsi advert, blah, blah, blah. Let me tell you why it's really good. And what we're doing here is we're just showing our expertise because we're breaking something down. So ideally, it's a success that you've caused to happen that you're breaking down. That is the absolute first priority. But if you don't have that for the time being, for whatever reason, you providing your thought and critique on other successes of other people, being very clear that you're not passing this off as your work, of course, because you shouldn't be doing that, but your critique on other people's stuff, breaking down that success, that can be really compelling. And that can, I hate the term convince, but that can convince people that you know what you're talking about. And here we go. Here's a much better example. So ahead of the click, 4 words. This is a company called Laser Red. Worked with them a long time ago now. And this really encapsulates the ethos of what they do there. So they're a digital marketing agency. They do websites, ads, creative branding, all sorts of lovely stuff. But they're super professional, super detail focused. And we wanted a way to encapsulate their approach to what they're doing. And so I came up with the term ahead of the click, which is of course a play on ahead of the curve, ahead of the click, ahead of the curve. They bought the domain name aheadoftheclick.com. And this tells you everything. So before a client clicks on your website, clicks your advert, clicks anything, they're way ahead of them. They've thought about everything and it's all been researched and sorted out, which is genuinely what they do. But by me breaking that down here, oh, sorry, I'm up here, aren't I? Me breaking that down here, am I this way? Am I that way? I forget. Maybe somewhere around here. Me breaking that down here, I show you, at least from this point of view, I know what I'm doing. Maybe not from a YouTube point of view, I know what I'm doing. But it should then reassure you that not only have I got lots of people saying nice things about me on the internet, but I can actually demonstrate in real time what I'm doing and why. And like, ooh, that's compelling. We do have, of course, the classic before and after. So it's not always as lovely and simple and visual as fat to thin. And this is an interesting chap. I haven't got his name to hand, so forgive me. But he didn't just go from left to right. He went from right. So he went from 6-pack to overweight back to 6-pack. So he could prove to his clients that it could be done, and so he could experience and feel like what it was like, so he could be a better coach and trainer for them, which is just mind-blowing. Why would you jeopardize that fantastic body and put yourself all through that? But hey, he did it, and hats off to him. But the before and after, so a bit like with Torsten a couple of slides back, right? Went from 3 a year to 11 a year. So where do people start? Where do people end? This is a way you can show. Visual is the best way to do it. So when it comes to differentiating offering, there's lots and lots of different ways we can do it. There's over 100 of them. Like I say, link in the description below. You can check those out. A lot of it comes down to getting back to basics and just really understanding, going back to the very start of this, USP versus ESP, unique selling proposition versus engaging selling proposition. Being unique doesn't necessarily have any value, but being engaging does. What do your buyers care about? Once you understand that, you can name some of the things, as we spoke about there, and you can prove some of the things. So your buyer knows, they're under no doubt, no illusion that you know what you're talking about, you can help them, And this level of detail and professionalism, that's really the kicker. That's what's going to set you apart from the competition. That's how you differentiate.